Hello and welcome. You are watching Property Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan. We are joined by Khurshed Gandhi today. He's a Managing Director of Consulting Services at Cushman and Wakefield India. He is a property advisor. He'll be answering all your queries related to buying, selling and investing in real estate. Khurshed, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Let's take our first question. It comes from Sachin Lad. Now, Sachin says that he has decided to buy resale property in Mira Road East. This is Uptown Mumbai, has made the property from an investor for 55 lakh rupees without parking. Khurshed, he doesn't name the property here, but he says that the approximate built-up area is 700 square feet. He wants to know, is this the right time to purchase this property? He's already paid the token money, the advance of the property, but he wants to know if there is any chance to reduce the property rates because with the demonetization situation, is it the time when he can negotiate with the developer? What do you say?
So it's actually a very interesting question, and we've taken a closer look at this. And I think the property that he's talking about is Gardenia, because that's the only uptown property in the micro market. Gardenia is actually trading at about 7,900 to about 8,500 rupees a square foot, which is quoted in the resale market today. If I can give a little bit of background on Mira Road, the local developers typically quote between 6,000 to 7,500. The mid-end reputed developers are between about 7,200 to close to 8,000. The reputed developers are at the 8,500, 9,500 range, for people like Lodha and Kalpatru. This particular property, the quoted price, the ticket price that he's getting the value for is actually closer to the 7,800 mark. And if you look at the property that's quoting anywhere between 7,900 to about 8,000, he's slightly at the lower end of the price point that could be asked for the property. A note of concern: no parking. So there's no parking out here, and that's always going to be a problem in the future. So if you haven't invested as yet, there's still an opportunity to either wait and watch. There could be a correction. We don't know the value of the correction. It could be 5%, it could be as more as 10%, and it will be micro market specific. But there is definitely an opportunity right now, to catch the right investor while they try to exit the market.
Right. So essentially, what Sachin is saying is that he's already paid the token advance on the flat. Does he still have room to negotiate?
I suspect he will.
He will. And how much of a reduction can he actually expect? Because you, like you pointed out, he's already the price that he's being offered is already a little lower than the market price. So in that sense, he's actually getting a good deal on the property. Can it go down further, and how much?
So if Sachin should talk, I mean, obviously there's an opportunity to talk to somebody and we get a quick sense as to how the buyer stands. Definitely, if Sachin is looking to invest in this particular asset, he should definitely push harder. But if he is looking at an end-use perspective and this house ticks the boxes that he has in mind, then home purchases at the end of the day are very evocative purchases, and they're emotional in nature. So go for it then.
Yeah, but the fact that you need to recognize, Sachin, is that after a long time, the home buyer is finally in the driver's seat. This is a time that you have to actually negotiate a hard deal. So
That's
go
correct.
ahead. Do not miss out on the opportunity. At least have a conversation with the investor who's selling the property to you. No harm over there. See whether he is in a mood to negotiate and give you a good deal. Next, we have a question that's coming through email again from Mangalavali Ramamurthy. Now, her mother-in-law owns property at Rajarajeshwari Nagar in Bengaluru and intends to sell the same. Now, the site measures 2,620 square feet and already has a 3 BHK house constructed on it 20 years ago. Now, she wants to know if this is the right time to sell. It is earlier on rent, but from the past 1 year, it has been lying empty. What is the market rate in Rajarajeshwari Nagar? This locality is closer to the Hillview School.
Right. So this particular market has been a traditional residential layout hub, and it has primarily focused on mid-end developments since it grew. Most of these were developed by the Bangalore Development Authority, all BDA layouts for the most part. Land prices in this particular micro market range between 4,500 to about 6,500 a square foot, and they are quite close to two slightly upmarket neighborhoods like Nagar Bhavi and Banshankari, where the land prices, of course, are significantly higher. However, it must be noted that at this particular time, with demonetization as well as the nature of the market, land and plot transactions in this micro market are typically in the secondary segment. The BDA is not developing anything here anymore. I would suggest you hold on to this particular asset. Do a wait and watch policy. Now is not the right time, perhaps, to enter the market, given how how it is likely to get pressure from potential buyers.
Right. So, we've already discussed, we've already seen two questions, and more or less all of them are asking you the same question. Everybody wants to know what will be the impact that demonetization will have on the real estate sector. We've seen, like you just pointed out, resale prices are probably going to be under pressure. Land, like you said, is also something that will come under pressure. What are the other segments of the market? Which are the other segments where you see some pressure on prices?
So obviously, under construction projects, anywhere you have an investor, whether it's and investors typically are in the early life cycle to mid life cycle of a project, there's always pressure there. Retail investors who've bought with the potential thought process of potentially exiting at a given point in time or the other, typically for the capital appreciation, usually exit towards the end of a residential project life cycle. So there's an opportunity there to get a completed project if you're an end buyer from an investor. So it's always better to buy a completed project or something close to completion, for somebody who's looking to live there soon. As another investor, if you have deep pockets, actually now is a great time to get into the market, right? We expect that in the medium term, and that's the next approximately 12 to 18 odd months, there will be a number of opportunities available across the board. And that includes, major micro markets across India.
No, but typically, which are the segments that you see will be impacted now? Like you said, investor-driven segments. So, do you see pressure on luxury property prices, for instance?
So more so on the mid-end projects than anything else. So mid-end and moving up into the early luxury segment. The premium segment, which is higher up than the luxury segment, operates to a completely different set of rules. Not too many investors there. Affordable segment, again, it's end-user driven. So really, it's the mid-end segment to the early luxury segment that you should be playing in, subject to your city, because the values vary across cities.
Right. So, if you were to take a ballpark figure, like you just said, values vary across cities, but say something between 50 say a crore in most other cities and 1.5 crore plus in Mumbai and the MMR region. Would that be fair?
I'd say, yeah, a little lower if possible would be better, because your appreciation obviously is better. Cities like Pune, for example, maybe you should get in at the 40 to 50 lakh rupee value bracket, because that's the bracket facing the most amount of pressure. So you can get a 60 lakh rupee unit today for as little 10 lakh rupee discount out there right off the bat.
10 lakh rupee discount on a 60 lakh rupee unit. That actually should sound like music to most home buyers at the moment. We have Anand, who's called in from Bengaluru. Anand, what's your question?
So good evening. I'm calling from Bangalore.
Yes, Anand.
So I have booked a flat in Bangalore just before the demonetization announcement.
Okay.
And given the current situation and the news that I am following, what I hear is that there will be a good possibility of prices coming down, right?
Right. Anand, tell us this much. What project are you looking at? Which project are you looking at? Which location?
So I am looking at a project from Reddy Structures. This is situated in JP Nagar. It is the Mahavir Riviera, and it's a 3-bedroom apartment ready to move in. Approximately around 1 CR. Actually, the price was quite a bit higher on the site, but I did some negotiations, and with that, it's coming to around, you can say, 1.1 CR, all inclusive. So, given the current situation, I'm feeling a bit riskier to move ahead with this transaction. So, what is your recommendation? I mean, do you recommend to go ahead with the transaction, or
Right.
you know,
Let me get in
take a step
Khurshed
back?
over here. Khurshed, he says he's already negotiated a deal for himself. He has entered into it at 1.1 crore. Do you think that prices can drop further on from here? Should he negotiate further?
So yeah, I think he should initiate a conversation again with the developer. Mind you, this particular project has been completed, and I'll just give you a few statistics on that micro market JB Nagar, which is quite a good market in Bangalore. It's been a traditionally residential market, and it's had very limited residential apartments, given the fact that it's quite developed. However, there's been improvement in the last few years from a connectivity perspective. We've got a metro station under construction at Saraki, which is about 2.5 kilometers from the particular site. Under construction properties in this particular neighborhood, range between 6,600 rupees to about 7,000 rupees a square foot, and we get a marginal bump up for completed properties. And I'll name two projects which are very similar, very close in construction status to Mahavir Riviera. There's Mahavir Sitara, which is at 1.06 crores. It's under construction, mind you. And there's, of course, Shivam South Crest, which is at just under a crore. Both of these are under construction, and they have about another 6 to 8 months before they get complete. At this point in time, given where values are in the micro market, I think you're already at a decent price. You've negotiated a good deal, but given the fact that demonetization has hit everybody, including developers, you should definitely have a conversation. There's no harm in doing that and no harm in pushing for it. It's a great opportunity to use the market, as a buyer, to use it in your favor for once.
Khurshed, I like how you're asking buyers to go out there and actually negotiate themselves a good deal. But what happens if you've already signed an agreement, which is probably the case if you have paid a token? Chances are that you've signed the agreement. And if you've already done that, does it make sense to negotiate now? Can you still negotiate a deal?
So I believe if there's an opportunity, you should push. No harm in pushing. Developers definitely do that to you as well. So if nothing else, it's a conversation. And frankly, most developers would be expecting this.
Okay, so most developers are expecting this. Very quickly, are developers also welcoming this? Are they willing to go the extra mile and give us a good deal?
So I think a lot of them will look at where they're at in their sales and where the project is from a completion perspective. Likelihood that a completed project, they'll be able to give you a better deal on a completed project, in my mind, is the degree of the discount will be significantly lower than something on an under construction property. And mind you, it's always easier to get better discount from the secondary market. In this particular project, and I presume Anand's looking at it from his end use perspective. This is what I say to everybody. It's an evocative process. If you like the house and you think it's right for you, you should go for it. If you can get a better deal, marginally better deal on it, no harm in asking.
And a marginally better deal in real estate does run into a couple of lakhs.
Absolutely.
Doesn't harm at all. We have Abhash on the line from Bengaluru. Abhash, how can we help you?
Yeah, hello. I have a straight question. I am looking for one of the property in Asset East Point in Bangalore, and I wanted to know, this is almost ready for the possession and the registration has started. So what should be the price I'm looking for investment in 2.5 BHK house? And I wanted to know what should be is it a good time to buy? Should I wait for some time? Or and what should be the rate ideally, for this
Abhash,
particular
could you
project?
give me the name of the property again and the location?
This is Assets East Point
Okay.
in Bangalore, in Boganhalli, Outer Ring Road.
Okay,
This is from
Boganhalli, Outer Ring Road.
Okay. So
This is from Assets Group. Yeah.
Okay.
So Assets obviously is a very strong brand name and a good one at that. They have a lot of stuff under delivery across the board. Very reputed developer. The Outer Ring Road's a good market because it's seen a phenomenal amount of commercial development, and as you know, in Bangalore, commercial leads residential growth. Approximately on that stretch, 32 million square feet of commercial space already in the market. The values there is a lot of opportunity in that micro market today. Approximately 20,000 units have been developed in the last in the last 24 months, and of that, approximately 7,000 units are still unsold. So you have a lot of opportunity to talk both to developers as well as to investors in their own right. There are opportunities across the board, and you could look at other projects as well in this particular stretch. There's Ozone, again a very reputed developer. There's Mayfair, strong in Bangalore. You've got Sun City, and all of these match your pricings as well. However, at the end of the day, it's like we've been saying, and this is really the demonetization show, if you will. You should look at having a conversation with both either the developer or the investor and get a great deal, because now's the time.
Yeah, now's the time, and we are not tiring of saying that on this channel. We've been saying that for the past 1 week and more. If you are a buyer, you couldn't have asked for a better time to get into the market. Developers, and this is the time when you should actually go out there and negotiate a good deal with the developer. You're also getting a very good deal on your home loans at the moment. We have Nitin Kumar Shetty from Mangaluru in Karnataka, I'm sorry, who's written in through email. Now he says that he's planning to buy a 2 BHK flat near Vaishyanagar in Mangaluru. The flat is 700 square feet and the cost of the flat is around 20 lakh rupees. He wants to know whether this is the best deal in the market or not.
Right. So Vaishyanagar in Bangalore is actually a mid-market, micro-market for residential units. And it's, by Bangalore standards, located, about 3 to 4 kilometers away. It's close proximity for us, but in Bangalore, it's a little bit of a distance to high-end markets like Kadri. And while prices are low in this market today, there is spillover activity happening from places like Kadri, and values are moving up. To give you a bit of a flavor, 2 BHK values in the micro market of Vaishyanagar is currently at the range of about 21 to 27 odd lakhs, whereas Kadri is at about 2 to 3 times the value, which is about 60 lakhs to 80 lakhs. So given the price point that you're at, which is really about 21 odd lakhs for your opportunity, we strongly suggest that you pick it up. Also, given the fact that demonetization, you should negotiate.
You should negotiate, but how do you really gauge whether the price that you're getting? And let's face it, Khurshed, you have access to a whole world of information that buyers can't really access. How does a buyer really gauge whether or not they are on the lower end of the price band, whether they are getting themselves a good deal, and whether they should push further at the negotiation table?
So obviously, do your homework. If I ask for projects in the micro market, I mean, all of us do it when we go to buy properties. We do our homework. We talk to people. Speak to a number of projects before we settle on something that matches our heart and our pocket. We also look at things that you need to keep in mind. What are the infrastructure updates that are happening? Just a quick Google search will give you an answer whether somebody's planning a road, or is there a metro connection offered, or it's a simple function of doing a little bit of homework. And of course, you write into us.
Yeah, do write into us. We will, of course, answer all your questions on Property Hotline. Moving on from Mangaluru to Mumbai, where we have another email query, and a very similar one from Santosh Menon. He wants to know the prospects of Godrej Serenity in Chembur, Devnar. He's invested in a 540 square feet flat at 1.45 crore. The building is ready. Is it a good investment?
So it's actually this is truly an interesting one, because the Godrej Serenity project, and Godrej needs no introduction as a developer, but the Godrej Serenity project is a high-end project. It primarily has 3 and 4 BHKs as part of the mix, and these flats are the odd ducks, if you will, and they're well priced, and frankly it's a great opportunity if you want to look at it from the perspective of a relatively small ticket size and a high-end project. Godrej has a great reputation of delivery. I mean, it's across the board. That's why people buy. This particular micro market has seen high-end premium developers such as Raheja and Godrej have typically constructed units in this micro market, and an under construction project is usually in the range of about 19 to 20,000 rupees a square foot. When you complete the project, the value spike. In this market, that's what we've seen historically, which climb actually to about 22 to 20, almost 25,000 rupees a square foot. This particular unit, I think, would make, if you were to look at it from an investment perspective, it's a decent purchase if you're okay with the rental yield on it. But do I expect this to climb significantly? I think it's difficult. My suggestion is do a wait and watch policy, especially on this market. Since it's an atypical apartment, there may be an opportunity to negotiate further.
One other thing, and I wanted to ask you this because this question comes about a Devnar project. Now, Devnar, the Chembur area especially, the last year has been very, very bad for this area from the point of view
Correct.
of air and health. We saw this area covered by a smog cloud. How has that really impacted property rates over here? We can see that the market has actually gone down 7%. We were seeing the charts for Chembur earlier. There too, the market has tanked down 3%. How much of this can really be attributed to the smog cloud that literally blanketed this particular locality, in the last year?
So it's interesting, and these are obviously average prices and not prices for your high-end reputed developers like Godrej and Raheja. They continue, they don't see a rapid escalation value, but they're definitely trading at a higher value. But you're right, the perceived health issues are out here, and I not perceived, the health issues there are of course resulting in the micro market taking a bad name. That said, the reason why this market has seen a massive spike in values in the last 5 to 7 years, and frankly it's higher than what Andheri West is seeing in incremental numbers, is primarily on account of the improved connectivity to not only South Bombay but also other parts of Bombay.
And that will outstrip the effects of the air pollution?
So the air pollution is a solvable problem in my mind, and the government is making the right moves towards it. So unfortunately, real estate, you have to take the long-term view, and if you do take the view, it will change. 10 years ago, you look at Chembur 10 years ago, you look at Chembur 5 years ago, you look at Chembur today. Dramatic difference.
So well, if you go by what Khurshed says, buy that house, buy that flat in Chembur or in Devnar today, hold on to it for another 5 to 10 years, and move in once the dumping ground shuts down. We have a question from Abhishek in Bengaluru. It comes through email. He says he is considering buying a flat near the Bengaluru International Airport. Is this the right locality? And what should be the right price to quote? I believe he probably wants to know what price to buy at. What would you say?
So it's obviously an emergent micro market. Today, activities stretch from Hebbal all the way to Yelahanka all the way to
I was just getting there. It's a very vast micro market that he's talking about. Which is the one market that you would, recommend to him?
Yelahanka. If I were him, I'd look at Yelahanka because of a number of reasons. One, it's an established micro market. There's a lot of commercial activity in and around the region. I mean, the big IT parks are there, and Bangalore, as you know, IT drives work. You've also got, it's pretty safe because you've got the big Air Force base right there, so security is pretty tight. And so safe for the most parts of Bangalore. And of course, you've got a lot of social infrastructure. You are within reach of your hospitals, of your retail projects, and everything else that somebody could want. And of course, within that particular micro market, this micro market sees a mix of, from Yelahanka onwards to Devanali, which is the airport. The micro market sees a mix of upmarket projects. So you've got Hiranandani, you've got Indus, you've got Embassy Orchids, and of course Ozone Urbana, which is a well-known project. These essentially, have been relatively recent and have been introduced relatively recent, and they've been pushing the perception of the micro market up. And but it's a slow long-term game in my mind.
How slow and how long-term?
I think Devanali is a good 3 to 5 years away. Today, you have to be more of an end user today to get into the market.
And what about Yelahanka?
Sri Lanka's got a better bet because you've got a mix of investors and end users, and it's predominantly actually in favor of end users. So,
And from the perspective of, and those are the prices of Yelahanka, new town, 4,007 rupees per square foot is what the market is averaging at. Don't get spooked by the prices going down. That is also because in the last 1 year, prices have been flat in most markets across the
Bangalore,
country.
yeah.
And even Bangalore also for that matter, though Bangalore has not really borne the brunt as other markets have. But very quickly, Khurshed, if you're looking at it from a rental perspective, now typically most buyers who are buying their first, second house, if I may put it that way, on a home loan would want to rent it out and probably hold it for 5 years or 10 years. If that is the case, what would you pick then? Yelahanka or,
Devanali?
Devanali? Which
Obviously Yelahanka, because you've got a ready market for a lot of IT professionals living in the region. They want to work at Manyata Business Park. They want to work at Bharatiya City. They've got a number of big developments all across that road that connects to the airport from Hebal, and it's a great opportunity there. But at the end of the day, rental yields remain low. So you're really buying it for the appreciation in value, if you will.
Right, you're really buying it for the appreciation, though the rent, the monthly rental that will come into your bank account really doesn't hurt if you don't
Absolutely.
end up calculating it, looking at the math and calculating the rental yield on it. We have a Twitter question now from Sunil Jurani. He says that he purchased a 3 BHK, 1557 super built up, 1,110 carpet area at Lodha Splendora in Thane at 9,700 rupees per square foot. Now he wants to know if it is a good deal. What is the expected price after demonetization?
So Lodha Splendora is an interesting development because it's an integrated development within it has a lot of sister developments around it. It's about, if I'm not mistaken, about 17 odd acres today. Where he's located is Godbandar Road, towards the end of Godbandar Road. Today, the broad values in that particular micro market are between about 7,500 to 8,000 rupees, thereabouts. So actually 7 to 7.5, yeah. As time goes, and this is across a number of construction sites. So under construction is closer to 7.5.
Right.
But when you get to get closer to completion or do complete your projects, it gets to be significantly higher up. If you've bought it already and it's for investment, I strongly urge you that you hold it for the medium term, because going to the market, other than the capital gains issues, going to the market quickly would actually result in you losing value.
What kind of rentals can he really expect if he holds on to this?
So it's a pretty, you get higher rental than what you paid. You'd get between about 4 to 5%. So the yields are pretty good.
Why are the yields so good in this particular market, or is it just a function of this particular project?
Yeah, so it's the rental that you get vis-a-vis what you paid. And the micro market is able to do well because there are a number of major pockets in the region. And of course, as you know, Thane is a relatively central hub, catering both north to the northern hubs of MMR, as well as east-west, as well as to Navi Mumbai in places like Airoli and so on and so forth.
Right. Sunil, so essentially the verdict over here is hold on to that property. You got yourself a good deal. And very quickly, what is your outlook on prices across the country for the next 6 months? Will they stay stable? Will they dip? Overall, average micro market prices, do you see them staying stable? Do you see them going down?
So investor-led markets like Gurgaon, I anticipate that they will dip because they're primarily speculator-led. Buyer-led markets tend to remain more or less. They will see pressure on prices, but you're not going to see deep discounts.
Right. So that's the verdict there, and we come to an end of this episode of Property Hotline. Thank you very much, Khurshed Gandhi, for coming in and answering all these questions. And of course, you can send in all your questions related to real estate to us, whether it is buying, selling, investing, legal, home finance, taxes, or the impact that demonetization will have on your home purchase. Thank you very much for tuning in.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magicbricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magicbricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magicbricks Now.